Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. This is the program Socialing the Distance. This week we featured Tom Bedford, who is the co-race director with his wife Jade of the Richmond Run Fest. It is a unique event in lovely London. He admits that he stole many of the great ideas from some of the events that he learned while being mentored in the U.S. What Tom did for several years was work for many of the finest road races in the United States, everywhere from rock and roll events with the incomparable Tracy Sunland to New York City, to Chicago, to Boulder. He was everywhere. And he learned the trade. Tom had also gone to school with Mo Farah at St. Mary's, was a quite accomplished athlete. His dad is the former world record holder at 10,000 meters, a Olympian, Commonwealth Games athlete, as well as one of the founders of the London Marathon, where Tom worked for many years. I met Tom, I believe, first time we spent some time together was back in like 1998, 99 at Road Race Management in Florida. We had a rather liquid evening and got to spend a little time together and enjoyed each other's company. And thanks to him and his dad and Sir Ian Stewart, I got to experience British athletics, British road racing, and learned a lot of good lessons. So Tom and I spoke today. Tom and his wife are in Portugal for a bit of a break from the coronavirus in the UK, and he wanted to see the sun where they could do their morning runs along the cliffs of Portugal. And so we talked today about the founding of the Richmond Run Fest, and essentially Tom took a lot of the lessons he learned from races in North America, the big medals at rock and roll, the music and entertainment, the beer fest afterwards, the courses through colorful areas. He took care of elite events, managed high-quality elite events on the limited budget he has. You had Chris Thompson among multiple winners at the event. He actually had Mo in a couple of the early events as well. And people didn't even believe that he knew Mo Farah. So the funny story on the interview, so you'll be able to check that out. Tom Bedford is rather self-deprecating, but the truth is this: he is one of the most creative people that I know. He is one of the finest event directors. He gets running, but he also is good about the behind-the-scenes things, bringing in sponsors, managing that. And him and his wife, Jade, have built this event into a top-notch and unique event in London. We talked about how Richmond came about, how there had never been any races in this botanical park, and how he was able to put it together, and the challenges wrought with that. He had the support of Nike and John Capriati, who he said good things about, who put together sponsorship for that event. And that was a big help. As any race director knows, if you've got a couple good sponsors, that allows you to focus on making the event better. And I always love the pictures they have from the event each year, where they would have the top athletes sitting in a regal chair, looks like a king's throne. And it was kind of fun, and they had fun with it. The ability to combine elite and how to treat elite athletes, which he learned from the late Mike Long. Mike was a long-time elite athlete coordinator for rock and roll, and we lost him over a decade ago, but he was a great guy, and Tom spent a lot of time with him and learned good things from him. And when you're mentored by the best, that's a very fortunate thing, and Tom has been. He also got to watch his dad develop the London Marathon, and pay special attention to how Tom answered my question about the London Marathon. Each year when I would go to London, and I went for, 15, 16 years, there was an event that I would attempt to get tickets for. And thanks to Glenn Latimer, a very thoughtful former athletes agent, charming Brit, and also childhood chum of Dave Bedford, I would be able to go to this event, which was on a barge parked right next to the Guaman Hotel. And you obviously dressed nice, tie and suit and all those kind of things. It was in the evening for a couple hours, and there were beverages, and you got to see everybody. And David would open up the event, Tom's dad, David Bedford, and would open up the event with "Welcome to the finest marathon in the world." And he was just screwing with people. He loved to give people a little bit of shit. And his sense of humor can be described as eccentric, which I appreciated. But what I liked about that event was that you had all these great race directors in one place. The World Marathon Majors is really an amazing thing because these race directors should have been killing each other, and they found a way to cooperate. And what they did is they built a series. It's the envy of the world. They also were at the forefront of doping, anti-doping, and they've caught some big cheaters. And the only way you know doping works is when you catch big cheaters. And I don't know why my phone still works, even though I have it on airplane mode. But hey, I've digressed. I think that the challenge is on putting on an event is you get so involved with it. How do you work with others? Bob Bright and the late Fred LeBeau used to play each other off, New York and Chicago in the U.S., and it built the races. There was controversy. It was written about in the papers. The Runner magazine, George Hirsch's amazing magazine, again, one of my favorites. I worked at Runner's World, always admired the Runner magazine and what they did. And Runner's World all wrote about these events and the controversy between Bright and LeBeau. And while I know a lot of it was kind of Barnum and Bailey, it got people excited about marathoning. London each spring, the week or so after Boston, was part of my haunts. I was in Boston for the week, and then I would go to London. And that's how we started developing a global business. You had to be in London, you had to be in Boston, you had to be in New York. And Chicago. Was in Chicago every year for, since 1990. Carrie and Mike Nishi do an amazing job there. Been to Berlin several times. Have not been to Tokyo. Really want to go to Tokyo one of these days, and I will. But World Marathon Majors really help put marathoning on the map. And Tom Bedford said it best that each one's unique. He was very politic about it too. And what is number one? Good question. I always thought Boston for its iconicness was amazing. I thought New York for just being the media capital of the world, fantastic. I thought London, modeled after New York, became its own place. And under David and then now under Chris Brasher, I think that they're doing a tremendous job. How do you survive during COVID? Tom was ballpark frank in saying that, quite frankly, British road racing has been decimated, as it has in the U.S. The virtual racing is admirable. A tip of the hat to Emily Sisson, who went 2:38.22 on her own with her hubby on a bike next to her down in San Diego to do a virtual marathon. And I know at Boston, they had someone go 2:21 and a woman go 2:40. So pretty cool. And I think people need the outlet. And Tom said that best. Running is a personal activity, but also going to these big races is a way of sharing and celebrating our lives and fitness. I was in Boston in 2013. I was about, a quarter of a mile from the bombing, sitting in the media center when we heard a boom, boom, and James O'Brien, a dear friend, editor at the New York Athletic Club publication, looked at me and said, "Larry, that was a bomb." And I've never forgotten it. I also had around my neck that day a pass to sit in the stands right where the bomb went off. I never went to finish lines because I was always fearful of that. And I couldn't write about the Boston bombing for a couple of years. It still upsets me. I'm glad that it wasn't, the people who did it didn't understand running. But what people did that day was pretty amazing. And it's like what I felt when they did New York after the year of 9/11. It was pretty amazing and pretty standing tall. I think the virtual races are needed now. I want to get back to regular races. Tom put on the last couple races that were actually allowed people to socially distance in London, and bravo to him for that. But that's the kind of thing that he and Jade are good at, and they know how to have fun, and they know how to run a business. And to be a race director, you got to be a good business person too, because otherwise the event doesn't stay around, and that can be a challenge. We talked about Tom running a 2:19 marathon on a bet, where he donated $13,000 to the Untoto Foundation, which was a nonprofit set up in honor of the late Mike Long, the elite director at rock and roll. And then Tom made a few bucks too. He was betting with his dad and a bunch of his mates. And 2:19, pretty damn impressive. But I think Tom could have run faster. He had a bit of a couple injury things, and but pretty dang impressive. We also talked about a new event that he's going to be doing next spring. They're going to announce in the upcoming week that the British Olympic Marathon Trials for men and women will be held on a 7-loop course in the Richmond Botanical Park area. And they'll do that on the Friday before they do their normal events. Probably no fans allowed. Obvious. There'll be great remote coverage, and hopefully we'll see how they do streaming and things. We'll be able to tell you more next week, but I think it's pretty cool that he's putting it on. And the course is flat and fast and dynamic. And obviously, Tom was influenced by seeing the 2012 Olympic trials around Central Park. And also, we chatted a little bit about how well Rich Kanaan, the team at the Atlanta Track Club, had just put on the U.S. 2020 trials, probably the finest marathon trials that I've seen. I love the circuit course. I love the 250,000 fans. It was just before COVID went crazy, and we needed that event. And Atlanta hosted it very, very well. But Tom is going to be putting on the British Olympic trials next spring, and we wish him luck with that, and we hope to be covering that. He also talked about the night of 10,000 PBs that his buddy Ben Pucci and their club put on. I've been to the night of 10,000 PBs several times. I did leave standing erect and also not under the influence of too many adult beverages. One night I had to drive back. Well, what did we do? Yeah, we had to drive back to Manchester because there was a road race and track meet the next day. And that was speeding with the crazy man from New Balance. And watch for that story coming up. Yeah, we broke land speed records on the way back. But the event was a lot of fun. And Tom came up with the idea of having a beer tent over lane 3 where you could cheer on the 10,000 meter runners. And they had, I think, 7 or 8 heats, men and women's heats. And the final one was a European Cup 10,000 meter event, as well as a British trials event. And I'll tell you, it was exciting. Adam and I went over in, I believe, 2017 to enjoy and see the event, and I've missed it terribly since then. So I hope to get back when this pandemic thing gets under control and see that event, as well as hopefully next year the British trials. It doesn't sound like there's going to be a plethora of major events, marathons next spring, and that's because people expect the pandemic to be around. Everything's set up for the fall, with the exception of Boston. So we'll have to see how that goes. But had a lovely chat with Tom Bedford today. Got to check in with his wife and race partner, Jade and Bedford. And they're in Portugal, enjoying a little bit of a break. Hope to see them soon. Thanking them again for their time. Tom is always a lot of fun to talk with, and just a good guy. One of those people that you want to sit down like his pop and have a few pints with. Thank you to Mike Deering for managing socialing the distance and trying to manage me, which I know is a 12-step program. And thanks to my son for gently trying to manage me, which is really difficult. That is a 12-step program, and I think I'm on the first step. And thank you to our viewers, listeners, readers. If you like us, please sign up for Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook. I used to call it the Facebook, which would annoy the hell out of my son, so I still do. But if you love us, sign up for the YouTube and check out our channel. We don't have 500 videos. I think we have closer to 1,000 now. I just like to grow the numbers exponentially. But, and then on the other part, please stay safe. If you're going to be indoors, no matter where you're at in the world, wear a mask, okay? And stay out of the indoors as much as you can. If you're going to be outdoors, take a mask with you. And if you can't be 6 feet apart, wear the mask. Wash your hands 20 seconds. Do it several times a day, okay? Wash your mask. The pandemic is real. Wearing a mask does not attack your sexuality. Wearing a mask is patriotic, whatever country you're in. Because guess what? When you're patriotic, you're caring about other people. And that's what wearing a mask is about. If you're not going to get sick, you're going to keep other people from being sick. And the truth is, masks do work. The CDC says so. Dr. Fauci says so. And no matter what political stuff you want to put into those things, they're good and honorable people. Republicans and Democrats, Tories, Whigs, everybody can like them, okay? Whatever party you're part of, just cut the crap. Science is real. It doesn't take away from your belief in God. Actually, many people find comfort in the beliefs in science and the beliefs in their religion. So I don't understand how people are belittling the CDC, are belittling Dr. Fauci, are belittling science. It's not patriotic, okay? So I've got past all my little weird things. I'm going to have my third cup of Joe today from Trader Joe's. I drink the dark coffee there, and I should just pour the coffee grounds on my arms and rub them, and then I'd be much more efficient. Larry Eder with RunBlogRun signing off. Have a great day.